Hello and welcome to this special conversation Beyond the Bottom Line, and I am in conversation with Mr. Prashant Jain, who is the Joint Managing Director at JSW Energy. Prashant, good to speak to you as always. Thank you very much. As I know, and we've been seeing the way the power sector has been sort of performing, and there's lots that the government is of course trying to do. We will of course see the coal linkage auctions coming in now. So what are your expectations first and foremost from the auctions that will be taking place? This will be a significant one for you, isn't it?
Yeah, so right now we are having some close to 30% of the capacity which is not tied up on a long-term basis, and that was based on the imported fuel, and there we have taken the environment clearance to switch over from imported fuel to domestic fuel. And we have applied and registered for coal linkage under Shakti scheme, and so we are looking forward, so we will be working on that.
Sure. So once, let's say, you get the necessary linkages that you've been looking at, what kind of benefit that you foresee in terms of the EBITDA and the margins? The street is already working with a reduction of 20 to 27% in cost per unit on 50% blending of domestic coal. Is that correct assumption?
Close to that, you can say that, but it should be seen in the context. Right now, you know, for example, the fuel prices on an imported index basis is close to $95 API 4 index, and so that price, if you compare with the domestic fuel on a landed basis for the plants which are our plants, there will be reduction more than 40%, 45% in the fuel cost if it is 100% replaced. But if it is 50% blending, it will be close to 22-23% will be the reduction in the overall fuel price. That will enable JSW Energy to do a long-term tie-up for the power, because then it becomes very, very competitive.
Correct.
And our plants are very, well depreciated plant, because we established these units at a very efficient capital allocation. Our plants were set up less than 4 crore rupees a megawatt, and they are well depreciated at this point of time. So
that gives you an advantage.
Yeah, that gives us a lot of advantage. Our fixed cost is much, much lower than the industry average. So on totality, it will be very, very competitive.
When do you expect this to come through in your, in your financials, the timelines of the same?
So the auctions are going to take place probably next quarter, and then FSA will be signed. So it's a long process, and then you have to enter into a long-term PPA in 2 years time frame. So because the coal can be taken only when the PPA is signed. So probably it is going to take 12 to 24 months before it all materializes.
And you are, of course, gearing up to bid aggressively for these auctions.
Look forward.
Look forward. How much capacity is tied up as long-term PPAs, if I may ask you, and any new PPAs on the anvil? Yeah,
for sure. This year, we started our long-term PPA portfolio with 64%.
Correct.
We have already completed last quarter by 70%. This quarter, we will increase it to 74%, because another PPA with Punjab, the 200 megawatt, it's under the regulatory approvals, and the PPA will get signed up this month, and the power flow will start next month. So we will be ending this year with 74% long-term PPA. So next year, our target is to add another at least 5%, if not more, on a long-term PPA basis. So you can say reasonably that we will go to 80%, and then this under Shakti scheme, whatever we are able to secure the domestic coal, plus our group expansion, because JSW Steel is also doing expansion at Dolvi and Vijayanagar, and those expansions will require more power, and that will be also getting into the long-term PPA. So,
sure.
So we are reasonably confident in next 2 years time frame we will be 85% plus.
All right, so that's a good figure to start with. In fact, the government has been pretty proactively working to resolve the issues of the power sector. I mean, we know that they are, of course, going ahead and also climbing down on some of the companies that have been perhaps indulging in gold plating, or even not having done any work in the direction of what they have announced. So about, if I'm correct and if I understand right from the government sources, is about 25% of the thermal power projects have not taken off at all. How concerned is a company like yours in a scenario where, the sector is going through its own tough times?
Yeah, sector has gone through the tough time because of aggressive, participation by the private sector between 2007 to 2009, because there was a huge power deficit at that point of time. We were having 8.5% power deficit in 2008-9, and power prices are running very high. So that gives a lot of attraction for people to come into power sector. And then a lot of capacity came up, and some capacity got into a lot of trouble because of number of reasons, because there were land issue, water issue, environment clearance issue, coal issue, and also some financial issue with some of the companies. And during this last 5-year period, close to 123,000 megawatt capacity was added up, as against the planning of 88 gigawatt. So because of that lot of capacity coming up, suddenly the power sector got into problem, because what was planned in 2007-8 or 2007 to 2009 got commissioned into between 2012 to 2017.
Yeah.
And now we are sitting with a lot of overcapacity, but this overcapacity is going to get corrected over a period of time, because I am seeing that those kind of green shoots in the demand revival. First time we are seeing the demand is reviving. Current financial year is 5.8% as compared to last year 2.5%.
Okay, so there's already an uptick.
Yeah, there's already uptick, and quarter on quarter it is increasing. Quarter 1 it was 5.1, quarter 2 it was 5.8, quarter 3 6.6, and January it was 8.3. So it's continuously increasing, and supply is not coming up. So that's the good part of it. The bad part of it is the sector is into big stress, and so there could be somewhere some issues of the gold plating, but there are some places the genuine sector issue because of the infrastructure, because of the long-term PPA, coal, power PPA. So we need to differentiate between these two, but I'm quite hopeful that in next 18 months time frame, all this will get resolved. And also there will be a lot of consolidation which is going to take place in the sector.
Of course, and that has been the trend, at least what we see, because not everybody is able to sort of cope up with the financial stress that they are facing. But just talk about the NPA issues, and RBI of course has also come into big play to address some of the NPA concerns by strengthening the norms when it comes to the NPA stressed assets, where they have come out with a notification which essentially makes sure that any default, any delay by a day becomes a default, of debt servicing. So that could impact again some of the investments in the power sector. There's again some calculation done internally which shows about 4 lakh crore worth of projects could get hit because of RPA's new norm, which is to obviously strengthen the system and arrest the problem of NPAs. What's your take on that?
So that's could be right, because in the first 2 lists of for NCLT there was no power assets, and most of the power assets were under previous RBI schemes like S4A or SDR or DP restructuring.
Right.
And under the new circular, those schemes have been revoked, and lenders will have to recognize those as a NPA asset and make necessary provision. And within 180 days, a resolution plan has to be finalized. Otherwise, they will go to NCLT. So if the assets are going to NCLT, then lenders will have to make necessary provision close to 50% in these assets. And so some of the assets may get resolved in 180 days, but most may not.
That's the concern.
So it could be going for a cleaning up process.
Will you be looking and bidding for GMR Chhattisgarh plant? This is the 1370 megawatt power plant, as Axis Bank is looking to divest its stake under the CDR process.
So I would not like to comment on an individual asset, but you can consider that it's safe to assume that any asset which is going into the restructuring or going for a bidding, we will be a serious contender. We would like to evaluate it, because given our balance sheet, we see this is a opportunity for us to make consolidation in the industry, and we would like to evaluate. But our criteria will be certainly that we would
Return
like to
of-
look, we would like to look at the assets where, you know, where the cost of power generated from that asset is low, and it's near the mines, and then we can.
So this one sort of fits that bill.
So as I
this
said,
project.
I would not like to comment on, but you can imagine that every asset we could be
Okay, so
interested.
fair enough. So we can take it as you could be interested in this. But tell me, sir, of course, these are due diligence and, you know, the whole process that you look at and go for. Now, we've seen the JSW Energy terminating the proposed acquisition of the Bina plant, for example, in Madhya Pradesh from Jaiprakash Power Ventures. What's the status of the loan given to Jaiprakash Power on that front? And do you hope to recover that loan?
So that is sitting as a loan to the JPVL books, and out of 1,000 crore loan, 250 crore rupees has been adjusted against the past dues, because we had earlier purchased the hydro assets from that, and against that consideration some amounts were due, so that we have adjusted 250 crore. Another 750 crores is due from JPVL, and we are working with the company to recover that loan. So hopefully something will be resolved.
What about JSPL's Chhattisgarh unit? I mean, there is a buzz that perhaps the same kind of issue can happen on that front as well. Is that correct? What is the status?
So both the companies are committed for that transaction, and the long stop date is 30th of June, and we will take a decision on 30th of June. Either we get the asset or we will get our money back.
But which side is it tilting to right now? I mean, where are the talks and what is this reason why it's stuck at this stage?
Because of certain condition precedents which are for the transaction, and JSPL is supposed to take certain approvals, and which they are in process, but they have not yet secured.
But since the timeline is now very close, is it likely to go through, or you can maybe terminate it?
It looks like that it may not go through.
You've already set up a subsidiary called JSW Solar Limited as one of the business, prospects. What is the kind of investments that you are entailing in that business that you're committed to? Because it's again capital intensive, as I can see. And when do you see the results of it coming through? Because again, it's a long gestation before you start getting some numbers there.
So it's not a long gestation. It's a small gestation period, only 3 to 5 months period for doing a solar project. We have started with 17 megawatt, and then portfolio will increase very rapidly, because we are taking baby step at this point of time. But going forward, you will see that there will be the aggressive capacity addition in this particular space is going to happen. Some point of time we will be doing backward integration by setting up our own solar panel manufacturing facility also in this particular space. And we will be also working on technology tie-ups in respect of floating solar, which is a new area where we will be working. So there is a lot to happen, and in next 6 to 12 months period, a lot will come out.
Oh, nice. So these are ways that you think is the way the demand will come up. We are talking of solar roof panels and so on. Where you already seeing India contributing, or this will be largely to also cater to some of the other markets?
So no, India is to start with, and we will be working on Indian market at this point of time, because Ministry of Power has also talked about there is a close to 40 gigawatt is the rooftop potential. They are talking about close to 120 gigawatt total solar by 2022. And Government of India is also supporting a lot of Make in India initiatives. So we are quite optimistic, and then there is a lot of technological developments which have taken place in this particular space, and we feel that renewable is the future.
Sure, renewable indeed is the future. And tie-ups that you talked about, are you talking to some international players or looking at some domestic startups?
So in due course, we will be announcing that part. But that's you can see that's the thought process we are having, because technology is the key going forward, and then you need to knit it along with technology and also the IT. So it has to be a very
well interwoven. Sure. And talking about technology and the solar and the renewable space, we know that the future of the automotive industry is also in that direction. And I know you have, again, formed a subsidiary as of very recent, JSW Electric Vehicles. Now, tell us about that business, because that has got a lot of the attention of people to understand where and how have you progressed so far in that space. You made an announcement some time ago, but have you been first and foremost been able to close on your technology partner that you were working with? If not, where and what is the status right now?
At this point of time, we are working, still it's work in progress. And we are working on both the options. One is to tie up technology with some of the global OEM, and also another option we are working is to build our own right from the scratch. And that evaluation is in process, and then you can expect in next 6 to 12 months time frame, certain concrete plans will be announced. Because at this point of time we are finalizing, those are at the drawing board stage, and the relevant discussions are going on, and I cannot share those discussions at this point of time, but in next 6 to 12 months time frame we will be announcing.
Tell me, sir, you've already sort of announced investments or at least your intention to set up a plant in Sanand in Gujarat, which will be an electric vehicle plant. What has been the progress on that front? How much investments will you be making there, and what is the capacity going to be to start with?
We have signed 2 MOUs. One is with the government of Gujarat, another is with government of Maharashtra. And recently government of Maharashtra has come out their new policy to promote electric vehicle in the state. And government of Gujarat is in process of developing that policy. We will be deciding it at either of the location, either in Gujarat or in Maharashtra. We are evaluating land options, and we will be taking a decision in probably 6 months time frame that where we are going to set up that facility. And this facility will be a complete state-of-the-art facility to well integrated to complete manufacturing. And the production volume will be decided. It could be anything between 180,000 vehicles to 300,000 vehicle to start with, and it will be a complete integrated facility.
Sure, I'm just curious to know, because there's so many players again in this market already, and now last time when we were talking, not many had talked about the electric vehicle plans, but now everybody is almost ready with the product and they're just waiting for the infrastructure to come up. In that context, where there are very established players who've shown their might and strength globally and have been there in the business for years, how do you see yourself as a newcomer in that space competing with the big guys? Because you still have to finalize a JV partner or a technology partner if at all you're going that path, and if you are doing everything all by yourself, don't you think it's going to be challenging?
Yeah, it's going to be very, very challenging. It's never easy, and I believe no business is easy. But the interesting point here is that there is a level playing field which has been created because of the disruption.
Sure.
You look at the example, what happens in case of the smartphones, what happens in case of renewable. No conventional utility company is in renewable space.
Sure.
No conventional smartphone or mobile phone manufacturers are in the smartphone space. AT&T, Motorola.
So what is it that you
Nokia
will bring to the table which will be so different?
Because we don't carry any baggage. So we do not have any legacy. We do not have anything, any investment to kill. So it's very difficult for a existing a corporation to kill the existing business and then to venture into the new business.
Yeah.
And that's where we are coming with a clean slate. That gives us a huge advantage. That gives us a huge level playing field. And that's why we are venturing into this space. So this is a unique opportunity which we are having. Second is our power space. It's a annuity business model. So you generate a lot of free cash once you are well established. That cash either can be deployed for the same business, or you can get into the new futuristic business. And that's where we feel that these are the futuristic businesses where we would like to venture in, which is one is electric mobility, second is the energy storage, and third is the renewable space. So that's where we are venturing very, very different, unique models. And believe me, the way we see the automobile sector, 10 years down the line, it will be altogether different. It will be more about the services than it will be about the product.
True.
So it won't be any more about the product. It will be more about services 10 years down the line.
But, you know, the whole traditional automobile product that one is talking about, there were reports about how you could call it a JSW car. That's the brand name. Perhaps the sedan will carry, the price range should be or would be around, that's what's been spoken, 12 to 13 lakh rupees. Is that what you're targeting? I mean, because when you start out, you either look at a very entry-level model which gives you a lot of volume, etc., or you go in the mid-size, or you go the luxury space. Where will you fit in that segment?
So there should be something left for the next interview, and then at right point of time, certainly we will be announcing. I think it's all market speculation at this point of time, what people are talking about. We will be very unique and different in terms of our entire strategy, so which may not be a conventional strategy. So I would like that something is left for the imagination at this point of time, and we will unveil it shortly, our strategy.
Are you looking for partners even at the manufacturing facility, any domestic player that you would, because consolidation perhaps will happen again because disruption in technology is happening. Are you game for any kind of partnership with any existing players?
I don't see that is the opportunity in India immediately, because Indian market is growing very rapidly and there is a lot of opportunity for everybody in this market, because we are at this point of time 3.5 million passenger car vehicle market, and which is going to grow to 20 million market probably in next 15 to 20 years time frame. So there is a huge opportunity for everyone. So I don't see consolidation is going to happen very rapidly in this sector.
Okay, but to understand it right, you are going to get into not just the cars, but the two-wheelers and the commercial vehicle space, etc. Perhaps the electric business and the bus space, where everyone is also getting in. Will you be looking at that opportunity as well?
So we are not averse to any kind of opportunity, and then what I can share is that yes, we are evaluating all options, and as I said that in next 6 to 12 months time frame, lot of strategic initiatives will be announced.
Okay, we'll of course get onto that when we speak to you about specifics. But as you said, you know, the rooftop panel, sun rooftop panel, solar powered, that perhaps could be the future even for cars and houses, as you said. So can that also, because all of these businesses that you're talking about have a nice backward integration in some sense.
Yes.
So do you see that as an opportunity to also use that as part of the future cars or bikes or whatever that will come to be solar powered?
So power is fungible. You need to look at this way, that whether it is generated from fossil fuels or renewable resources, nobody recognizes which power it is actually. But I would like to put it this way, that going forward, I don't see capacity addition in thermal space.
Okay.
It will be the capacity addition primarily in the renewable space. And but both technologies are going to coexist at least for next 10 to 15 or 20 years time frame. In 7 to 10 years time frame, the storage will become economically viable to generate to convert renewable energy as a round the clock power. For example, you know, the battery prices, the moment they drops below $35–50, it will be absolutely economical to make renewable power around the clock as competitive as compared to fossil fuel power. And that's the time there will be globally, there will be complete retirement of all fossil fuel power plants, because there is a CO2 emission, there are the
and hence we've seen you also sort of switching on and getting onto that side of the business.
So whatever has been built they will get consolidated, so there will be a solution for whatever capacity has been built. But new capacities in a large quantum, I don't see that is going to happen.
And that will be largely in renewable space, as you said. So we can expect you bring out solar-powered cars of the future.
I'm not sure in what format that will be, but the future power addition is going to be by the solar or wind. That's what my take is.
Sure.
And that will be going for the powering the electric vehicle.
Sure. Lastly, how are you seeing this year for JSW Energy, as you had seen, and I know you focus a lot on the return on investment and the margins because it should make good business sense. What is it that you're working on as a target? Will you be able to achieve, since we are now in the last quarter of this financial year?
So what we planned for this quarter, we achieved everything. For example, in the starting of this financial year, I mentioned that our target is to increase our long-term portfolio from 64% to 74%. We are on track to achieve that. We talked about deleveraging our balance sheet. We delivered our balance sheet from 1.3 times debt to equity to 1:1, ending December quarter, and which will further get delivered in the current quarter. And we refinance our debt also. So all this is going to increase our return on equity. And going forward, I see that the growth is going to be the mantra. And so next few quarters, we will see the growth, both organic as well as inorganic way. And also the growth coming from the new businesses. So there will be something tangible which will be seen in renewable space, also something strategic and initiatives in terms of the new generation businesses like storage business as well as the electric vehicle.
Electric vehicle from you in 2020, will we see the product?
The way I see it, between 3 to 4 years time frame, our first product will be out. But there could be certain strategic initiatives which can provide some insight even earlier than that.
Okay, so maximum 3 to 4 years, but it can be before that as well. Thank you, Prashant. Good speaking with you as always.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.